Okay, we're back doing some broken transformer core extraction and repair for a TRS Challenger 850 that someone had not removed the glue, because this is one of those pain in the ass radios where they literally glued every single transformer in every core. Every core into every transformer. It's got this, it's just like the Sony Bond, that goopy stuff they used back then. Actually, they still use to this day, but yeah, they didn't use wax to seal them. They used this stupid glue, and of course people stick their alignment tool in there without properly getting all that stuff out of there. As soon as they start to turn, these cores are so small they just split in half, and then there's absolutely nothing you can do to adjust it once the core is cracked. I don't even know if I can get close enough to get it to focus properly, that you can even see it split, because it's just a very little tiny thin, it's like a hairline fracture, but as soon as you stick an alignment tool in there, the core starts to split open. Now these are the 5 that have broken cores. All the rest of them in the radio they were already free, a few of them on the PLL board, but pretty much all the other ones were still sealed, and the 5 that someone tried to adjust, these 5, they broke all of them. So I've desoldered all of these, pulled them out. Now, the odds of you finding replacement cores, I'm sure you could, but it would be, God, trying to go through and figure out, especially if these have, built-in capacitors in the bottom, you got to figure out the inductance, what the permeability is on the cores. It's a lot easier just to try and salvage your existing core. Now, in most cases, these cores, you can still reuse, because here's one I've already spent, I've probably been working on that thing for 10 to 15 minutes, so it's going to take you some time. It's not a speedy process to do this, but if you can safely get the broken core out, see how that one's broke, the other piece of it, yeah, it's right there, the little tiny broken off piece. That's the chunk, the other piece that's missing out of this. But what you can do is just flip the core over, because these cores, luckily, I don't know if it'll be able to see down inside there, yeah, it's recessed too far in, but these cores are double-ended, so they have the slot in both ends. So even though the end that was up was broken, as long as you can get it, and it's the other advantage is, as you can see light through it. It's hollow. So what you need to do is you've removed the core. The first thing, or the first step in this process, is getting rid of that glue and softening it up. Don't rush this. I just cannot state that enough, because if you break the screwdriver slot on the other end, those transformers are trash. There's really no way to get the core. Once you break both ends, there's nothing you can do to extract it anymore, because now it's just stuck in there. There's no way to get in there and turn the damn thing. So be very, very careful. Like I say, number one weapon in this glue assault is radio, TV, cement solvent. Extremely, and don't take that jokingly when it says extremely flammable and vapors are harmful, because trust me, this this stuff is very potent. It doesn't take much of this and you'll be getting lightheaded. It's a very, very strong solvent. But my procedure is, get the cap off the bottle here. That's one reason they put it in a glass bottle, is because it's so. But you'll see, like I said, I just use these little straws that come with spray cans of stuff. Now what you want to do is, I'm trying to make sure I get this in the camera while I'm doing this. You can see how it just kind of disappears, soaks in. But what you're going to do is over a period of several minutes, you don't want to stick it on there and just, okay, now try and twist it out from the bottom side. That's not what you want to do. What I do is I continue to apply it, and you'll see it's already starting to do it. You'll see it'll start to bubble up a little bit, because it's starting to unbond from the core. Just knocked it over. Yeah, these are, and of course, make matters even worse, these are the little teeny tiny ones. It's not the normal size transformers like a lot of radios have. But you want to keep saturating that And you don't want to go soaking this in this stuff, but like I say, you just, as you see it start to disappear, now what's happening is, of course, some of it's soaking down through the threads, because there's some of this glue, and that's the reason these break off. Part of the problem is some of that glue is actually seeped down into the threads a little bit, and that's why these cores, they get broken. But just keep saturating it, and you'll see it starts to kind of bubble up and get kind of, you know, curly looking around the edges there. And then the other thing I'll do is I'll also flip the core upside down. Same thing, get a little bit more solvent. Go in through the bottom side. And let it soak, you know, back. Because like I say, some of it has soaked in through the windings in there. Some of that glue. And just over a period of time, you're slowly going to start to dissolve that stuff. And then once you get it softened up to a point, you can go in. Everything you use needs to be small, but you know, some good tweezers. I have several sets. Actually, most of them, they're the same tweezer set. I just have multiple sets of the same sets. You know, I've got one set that I use for surface mount work, one for doing shit like this. So, you know, these are the ones if I accidentally bend a tip or something, I don't get all pissed off at myself, because that's what I'm using them for, is pulling and prying. But yeah, I still try to be careful with them, because some of these, of course, you can see the tips are very small. You know, but they're great for grabbing down. Also, I've got just a regular pin, okay, and it's inside of I just had a piece of it's actually a wire harness tape I stuck on there, and then it's actually dipped. Then I dipped the whole thing down into a tool dip, but that gives me basically a little handle for a pin. You know, that way you're not trying to hold this little teeny tiny pin in your hand. It gives you something. Not only that, when you lay it down on the bench, you're not trying to find that little, or worse yet, you drop it on the floor, and you know, you should always be wearing your work boots, but if you're not, you know, you'd step on that damn thing. So you know, at least if they have the flag on it, it's easy to find. You know, I can stick it anywhere it stands up, so you know, it's an easy way not to lose your pin. Attach a little flag to the end of it. But you know, start nibbling away, trying to, you know, get down in there, especially with the pin down in around any existing threads, especially if the core is sticking up. Try and get that glue worked out of the threads. Keep soaking it, then I take the brush once I get, you know, it's really softened up, and I'll scrub it a couple times. You know, repeat the process, apply more solvent, pull more of the adhesive out, keep scrubbing it until I don't see any adhesive left on top. Then I'll flip it upside down, soak it really good again, and then I'll finally go in for the removal of the core. And like I say, successful with this one. Okay, now what you do not want to do is use something like this. Now, these tools are great. This is, I think, a Pros Kit one. Yeah. These are great for doing alignments on cores that are not seized in, or they don't even have to be seized, just tight. If they're loose, fairly easy turning, these are fantastic because they're non-inductive. You know, you can't be using a metal screwdriver. That's even worse than this, because a metal screwdriver is inductive, so as soon as you get the screwdriver down in there, that's going to change the inductance of that transformer. So, you know, these are ceramic tips, so they're non-inductive. But the problem is, it's hard. It's ceramic. It's just, you know, it's just like a piece of steel and has no flexibility. So and that's what people do. They stick these type of things in there, either metal screwdrivers or these ceramic adjusters, into these little teeny tiny cores, and then they break them, and then they're screwed. What you want to use is proper plastic alignment tools. You know, this one is actually getting so short, it's almost to the point of not being. It's going to be too short soon. You know, this thing started out life. It was probably, you know, like that long sticking off the end, and over the years it's just been nibbled down. But that's the whole idea. This is sacrificial. I don't consider that sacrificial. This is. So, you know, but that's the thing. I just nibble it down. I'll spend several minutes working on getting that tip to where it is a perfect, you know, tight fit. You know, not too tight. You don't want it to the point where it's going to break the core, but you want it to the point where it's just a slightly, almost snug fit inside of one of these cores. And you can see how that perfectly fits on there. See, it even stays. And it won't fall off. But you don't want it any bigger because you don't want any outward pressure. Like I say, they're very fragile and they break. But the reason you want such a nice tight fit is that's making sure it has good even contact around all of the surface area on the inside of it. And if something is going to give, and that's why this tool was so short on the one end, usually what you end up doing is twisting the end off. And if you twist the end off, who cares? your transformer still isn't unsavable yet. You know, and that's why this pin is black, because when that does happen, I'll just heat this up with a torch. I can stick it down into the, into there. It'll cool down. It melts its way into the little broken off piece of, plastic tip that's stuck in the end of the core. This cools, and I can just extract that little piece of plastic and then try again. But, go in with a razor knife and, nibble away at this until I make that a nice, perfect tip. It fits perfectly into one of those slots. But it's all patience, patience, patience here. There's nothing fast about doing this, because, rare radios, you're not, if it was a Cobra 29 or a Galaxy, who cares? I've got parts drawers full of either brand new ones or shelves full of, parts chassis, so, getting replacement cores is no problem. But if it's a rare oddball radio that's using some odd core or, odd transformer, you may never find another one. So, and like I say, it's not so much not getting the cores. I've got drawers full of cores that, I've saved out of radios, out of hundreds of radios over the years as they got scrapped. I always save the ferrite cores. The problem is the exact replacement transformer. And like I say, if you break both ends and you now have a piece that's stuck in there that you can't get extracted from either end, this transformer now become trash with the radio included, because if you don't have the transformer, the radio's no good. So, like I say, solvent, soaking, solvent, soak, solvent, soak, solvent, soak. I can't say enough. Maybe you see that stuff that really starts to get crinkly, like I say, as the solvent soaks in. But get all of that goop off there. You can see this one, they all look the same. They all were covered, the tops of them, with that. And you can see how clean this one is now. I've gotten all of that crap off of there. Everything was cleaned out before I even attempted to get that core out. But that's the proper way to try and save your transformers and save a radio if it has rare, transformers that are made out of unobtainium. So I hope this little tip helps.